Hello and welcome. I'm grateful to connect today. I just felt inspired to come on and share and a little bit of story time, share some updates, and share about this topic that I love so much, which is the healing power of Reiki simplified and multiplied. So, as you're tuning in, hello. If you're new to me, my name is Hilary Faye, and I'll share a little bit about myself in a moment. But I would love to hear where you're tuning in from, how you're feeling today. And I'm going to be offering a free Kundalini Reiki Level 1 certification for the first time in 2 years. It's something I'm normally guided to offer once every 2 years. And when I was tuning in to what the aligned time would be, I really got to do it in this month. So it's going to be on Sunday, April 26th. But I would love for you to say hello as you're tuning in. I want to welcome Dennis. Hi, Nancy. Hello, Annie and Ethath are both here supporting as well. So thank you. It's a blessing to connect today, and let's kind of dive in. So, I feel inspired to share a little bit more about Kundalini energy, about my journey with Kundalini energy, more about Reiki, a deeper understanding of Reiki and my journey with Reiki, and how this is a special opportunity coming up to be able to really work with both of these frequencies. And I'm preparing the energy for such a beautiful attunement that will be happening on April 26th. So, if at any time throughout the live you want to register for the free Kundalini Reiki Level 1 training on April 26th, you're more than welcome to just type Kundalini into the chat, or I'd like to register, or whatever works for you. And if you're already registered, please let me know as well too, because the energy's been building so beautifully. And it's always a blessing to be able to find time for this, because a little bit about my background, I had been teaching yoga. I had created my own yoga school, teaching Kundalini yoga, Hatha, Vinyasa, restorative, and for many years, and teaching a lot of Kundalini, a lot of alchemy. A little bit about my story with Reiki is that I've been doing a lot of deep transformational work and trainings for over 23 years, but it wasn't until I would say about 12 years ago that I learned Reiki. And I feel like I always had kind of a preconception of what Reiki was, which turned out to be completely false, because I had done a lot of training, a lot of deep training with my alchemy teacher, a lot of energy healing trainings, a lot of yoga training, a lot of meditation, breath work, pranayama. And it was actually 12 years ago when I had, that was the year that I created the Awaken Love Yoga teacher training, and I did retire from running that yoga school 6 years ago. And I actually retired from teaching yoga as well, and I'll kind of share a little bit about that journey. But essentially, I was in my kitchen cooking, I was chopping vegetables, cooking dinner, and one of my guides came to me and they said, "You're creating your own healing arts academy." And I was like, "No, I just created a yoga school. I spent like 1,000 hours writing a 380-page manual and getting the entire curriculum certified through Yoga Alliance, and building the entire syllabus." And that was like a huge undertaking. So I wasn't planning on creating another big certification so soon, but my guide kept saying, "No, you are creating a healing arts academy." And I kind of jokingly, I was a little bit reluctant. I ended up being a reluctant yoga Reiki teacher as well. But I jokingly said, "Send that to some other person in the vicinity who has the capacity for that, because I don't." But then my guides kept saying, "No, you are." And then later on that day, I received the insight, if I'm going to be creating a healing arts academy, I want to learn Reiki. I ended up actually doing an exchange with a beautiful woman named Melanie Ohlenberg. She took my yoga teacher training, and in exchange I did her like $3,000 one-on-one Reiki Master program, and she was supervising as I was doing practice Reiki sessions, and it was so beautiful, so transformational, so different than what I thought it would be. And this was in Usui Reiki. Then um then towards the end of her training, Melanie said, now I'm going to assist you in teaching level 1, and then after that I'll assist you in teaching level 2. And I was like, oh, I'm not teaching Reiki. I just wanted to learn it. I just wanted to know it. I'm not teaching it. I don't know anyone who wants to learn Reiki from me. And she, I believe for the first time was a little bit stern with me, where she's like, it's part of the program. Pick a date, find a place, and just do it. So I was like, oh my gosh, now I'm going to teach Reiki. And my friends at the time, I was living in Toronto. I am from Southern California. When I got married, I lived in Toronto for 7 years. Then in 2020, I moved back to Southern California, where I'm from. And then 3 years ago, I moved to Sarasota, Florida. Long story short, my friends had a space, and it ended up being one of the most miraculous, incredible days I could have ever experienced. And then I taught the level 2, and it absolutely blew my mind. And then I thought, okay, that's it. Like, I met the requirements of the training, but I'm never going to teach Reiki again. And then I would get email after email, request after request. Will you please teach me Reiki? Will you please teach Reiki again? When are you teaching Reiki again? I'm like, okay. I was reluctant. I wasn't planning on it, but I guess it was a sign from the universe. And one thing that ended up happening later too, because many times I was like, okay, I have a lot going on. I'm running the yoga school, I'm teaching classes, I'm teaching workshops, I'm doing sessions, I'm something needs to be cleared off my plate because I was overdoing it. So at one point again, I was like, okay, I'm going to stop teaching Reiki again. And it's just enjoy the story time. Thank you for your time and presence. But at that time, I was going to be teaching at the Toronto Yoga Conference, which is the largest yoga conference in North America. And she asked me to propose what I'd like to teach. And I was listing out like 20 different things, like a lot of like teaching about Kundalini, because I'd been teaching Kundalini for so long, working with the bandhas, working with the flow of Kundalini energy, working with alchemy, working with being an empath, working with energetic sensitivity. So there was so much that I put on the list, maybe 15 different options. And then as I was submitting the proposal to her for what I would teach at the yoga conference, my guide said so clearly, you have to also include that you specialize in training yoga teachers in Reiki. And I thought, no, because I'm not teaching Reiki anymore. So I'm not going to. And then my guides were like, you also need to include, it was just like that. You're creating a healing arts academy. You're creating a healing arts academy. And even though I was reluctant and I tried to resist, I remember at the end kind of typing in, the others all had beautiful titles and proposals and subtopics for all of these topics I could teach on. And then I just wrote at the end really quickly, I also specialize in training yoga teachers in Reiki because I had trained hundreds of yoga teachers in Reiki at that time, and I was running my own yoga school. So she wrote back and said, "You're the one I've been waiting for. You're going to be the one to bring Reiki to the Toronto Yoga Conference and be the first official Reiki instructor of the Toronto Yoga Conference." I'm like, "What?" I literally like dropped to my knees, was absolutely rushed with universal life force, which is what I'm about to go into next. Merged into oneness with the universal life force and said, I will never reject you again. I will never again say that I'm not going to be teaching Reiki. But originally, when I wanted to learn Reiki, what I actually wanted to learn was Kundalini Reiki instead of Usui Reiki. But at that time, I could not find a Kundalini Reiki teacher. So, in preparation for training hundreds of yoga teachers in Reiki at this largest yoga conference in North America, I received clear guidance. Now is the time to learn Kundalini Reiki. I'm going to go a lot deeper into what Reiki is, what Kundalini is, the difference between Usui Reiki and Kundalini Reiki, which is kind of starting with a story. I ended up doing a one-on-one Kundalini Reiki training with a beautiful woman named Jennifer, and it prepared me so beautifully to teach Usui Reiki at the yoga conference. What came through really blew my mind. And then what ended up happening years later, because I first learned Usui Reiki around 12 years ago, maybe it was 9 to 10 years ago that I learned Kundalini Reiki, is at a certain point at the end of 2019, I was receiving guidance that I needed to focus more specifically on training energy healers, that it was time to kind of move from the Awaken Love Yoga teacher training, which really like was my life's work. I thought I would be teaching yoga for the rest of my life. I did not think I would be retiring from teaching yoga at 34 after pretty much 12, 13 years of teaching yoga. What came? A Lemurian council came to me, and this was when I was living in Laguna Niguel, and I had this sort of garden of ascension in the backyard with jasmine and rose bushes. And my guides came and they said, "You are no longer going to be teaching anything you've ever learned before or anything you've ever taught before. All new teachings are going to be coming through." And they said, "Except Reiki. People still really need Reiki." So that kind of solidified it. And since then, some of you may be familiar with my crystal chamber work with the Arcturians, with the Fairy Queen Council work, with the Rose Temple Mystery School, and all of the new teachings that have come through since then. But since I do have some bigger things I offer, like right now we're halfway through the Crystal Chamber Healers Academy, which is the largest certification that I offer in the year. This year I'm also going to be offering a really beautiful, like, multidimensional healing training, merging with your multidimensional magic and the Rose Temple Mystery School again. So I always have to kind of sit with the guidance of like, okay, when can I teach Reiki this year? And often what I'm guided is, one year I'll teach Usui Reiki, the next year I'll teach Kundalini Reiki. So I was being shown that it was the right year to offer the free Kundalini Reiki Level 1, which I'll share more about, which is normally $300, but I'm offering it as a complete gift. And that the date to do it was what would actually be 12 days from now. So on 12 days from the day of this live, which is on April 14th, which would be on April 26th. So that's a little bit about my story with Kundalini, with Reiki. Kundalini yoga sort of found me where a friend of mine said when I was living in LA, "Let's go to a prosperity workshop." And I knew it was a spiritual workshop, but I'd never even heard of Kundalini yoga. Next thing I was in this Kundalini yoga class, being absolutely having mind-blowing experiences, and then started going every single day for months and months and months, and then did the yoga teacher training and worked very, very deeply with Kundalini energy for over 18 years. I did stop teaching all yoga, including Kundalini yoga, in 2020, but I bring a depth of experience of working with Kundalini energy and of working with Reiki energy into the Kundalini Reiki training. And that was what was so cool about it. When I first went to take the training, it's so simplified, but I was able to kind of bring in like 18 years experience of working with Kundalini energy and all of this experience working with the Reiki energy as well. So thank you for listening to that story. And And yeah, now I kind of want to go into understanding Reiki more deeply. And I know some of you may have done training with me, you may have done training with others, or have a very deep understanding of it. But I personally, I thought it was like old energy. I didn't understand it at all. Like I didn't engage with it at all. I was doing all of this other spiritual work for so long and doing so many trainings and different types of energy healing and deep yogic training. But when I learned Reiki, it absolutely changed my life. So, what Reiki is it's really universal life force energy or universal life source energy. And the story of Reiki is that a man named Mikao Usui, who lived in Japan, he was deeply spiritual and he wanted to become a conduit of healing. His teacher had advised him, and this was in the 1920s, to go to Mount Kurama and to do 21 days of fasting and meditating. There was a waterfall on Mount Kurama, and in that experience Mikao Usui merged into oneness with what would be called universal source energy or universal life force energy. He then developed what would be called the Usui system of natural healing, which is Reiki. From there, Reiki continued to develop. It's something that's meant to develop. There was a doctor named Dr. Hayashi who helped develop more hand positions and kind of move the treatment along. And what was interesting is that Usui originally did not bring symbols into the system. But as he was teaching people Reiki, he began to notice that some people were not able to connect to the energy in the same way that he had, because obviously he had this mind-blowing experience of samadhi and universal oneness and oneness with universal life source energy. So he brought in some different symbols and techniques to sort of help people attune to the energy, to help people receive and overflow the energy. But his whole idea is once they, what he said is, became the appropriate energy, like we're able to tap into this frequency of universal life force energy, that then they would unlearn the symbols. Almost think of them like a kid's riding a bike with training wheels, and then at a certain point you don't need the training wheels on the bike anymore. You can just hop on the bike and ride the bike. And that's why the Kundalini Reiki system is actually really in alignment, I believe, with what Usui originally brought forward. And yeah, so Reiki is pure positive source energy. It's combining these two Japanese concepts, Rei, meaning universal or spiritual wisdom, which also Rei, like kind of like a beam of light, like light is either in like ray form or particle form. So Rei, universal wisdom, and Ki, which is life force energy, which means Chi as well, the life force energy. And Reiki is such a beautiful practice. Usui Reiki is such a beautiful and deep practice. And it does include symbols, it does include different sort of hand positions for treatment techniques. And I still work with it all the time. I absolutely love and cherish it. I love and cherish both Usui Reiki and Kundalini Reiki and work with both of them daily. So that's a little more background on Reiki and how it came through, how Usui Reiki came through. And then a little bit more on Kundalini. So, Kundalini comes from the Sanskrit word which means kundal, which actually means a spiral or a coil. So, it's normally represented as a serpent, like a snake, lying coiled at the base of the root chakra. This energy, Sri Ramana Maharishi wrote that the Kundalini energy is nothing but the natural energy of the self with a capital S. The Kundalini energy is nothing but the natural energy of the self. So it is a Shakti energy, it's a divine feminine energy. It's an energy that we have within us that I've been shown is the essence of the soul consciousness. Soul being an acronym for SOUL, source of unconditional love. And when we begin to tap into the Kundalini energy, we are awakening and activating this source of unconditional love, and it creates sort of like a wellspring, and it rises like a faucet, like a spring of unconditional love through the base of our spine. And this word, Kundalini, it means the same thing, but it could be called different names throughout different cultures and traditions. So in Hebrew, it could be called Shekinah. In China, it could be called Chi. In Japan, it could be called Ki. In the West, the Kundalini energy is known as the energy of the Holy Spirit. So in the West, it's the Holy Spirit. In the East, it is the Kundalini energy. And this Kundalini energy rises from three main different energy channels. It rises there's a central column called the Sushumna from the base of the spine all the way up to the crown of the head. And that's the main column through which we activate, the light of the Holy Spirit within us, the light of our true self, the soul energy, the unconditional love energy. And then there's two other columns that spiral up to, one representing the masculine solar energy and the other representing the feminine lunar energy, and those are the Ida and the Pingala. So that's a little bit more, which I go even deeper into this in the free Kundalini Reiki training. And one of the things I wanted to mention, that Kundalini Reiki is not affiliated with Kundalini Yoga in any way. It's kind of its complete own separate system. And I'll share a little bit about that. So Kundalini Reiki is a newer form of Reiki. So Mikao Usui in around the 1920s began developing the Usui system of natural healing. He began training people. One of the people he trained, Dr. Hayashi, ended up training a woman named Hawayo Takata. She brought Reiki to Hawaii, and that's when Reiki began to spread to the West from Japan, because at a certain point it actually really went sort of underground and secret in Japan. It wasn't well known or well taught, but then it was able to spread throughout the United States, throughout North America. Kundalini Reiki was channeled, was brought forth from Ascended Master Kuthumi, and Kuthumi has had many profound and incredible incarnations, and he is now really the world teacher. He took over Yeshua's role as the world teacher. So Kuthumi began downloading the Kundalini Reiki system to a man named Ole Gabrielson, who I've done the Kundalini Reiki training directly with Ole Gabrielson as well. And he began downloading to Ole Gabrielson. He is Danish, and he was a Reiki master and a meditation master. And how Kundalini Reiki works is we're working with two different frequencies. So one, Reiki, universal life source energy, universal life force energy, which I really see as the energy of source and the energy of the divine masculine. And then Kundalini energy, which is more of a feminine energy. It's a Shakti energy. It's like that Holy Spirit, that Shekinah frequency. And in Kundalini Reiki, it empowers you to be able to channel both frequencies. And I see that frequency of Reiki also coming from above, but then being able to channel the Kundalini energy from the earth as well. And the beautiful thing about Kundalini Reiki is it's incredibly simplified. The attunements open the energy centers, the energy channels, the meridians in a way where you can offer healing with intention alone. So it's a very simplified system. It doesn't have complex hand positions or different symbols to memorize. It's really done based on intention. And that's kind of one of the core differences between Usui Reiki and Kundalini Reiki. So, Usui Reiki is often working with symbols, working with different hand positions, and it's just working purely with the frequency of Reiki. Kundalini Reiki, and that's what the words my guides once gave me, is that it's simplified and multiplied. It's simplified because you're able to work with the energy based on intention alone. There are no complex kind of symbols or different things to learn and memorize, but it's multiplied because you're also working with two different frequencies at the same time. So, one of the reasons I felt inspired to go live today, which, as many of you know, is very, very rare. I'm not often live. I don't even often post that regularly on social media, but is because I am offering the Kundalini Reiki Level 1 training for free live on Zoom on Sunday, April 26th at noon Eastern Time. Normally, it's a $300 value. It's being offered completely free of charge, and it's the only live Kundalini Reiki certification and attunement that I'm offering in 2026, or for 2 years in general, because I really normally can only fit it into my schedule once every 2 years to offer Kundalini Reiki, and this was the time of the year that it felt really guided to do. So if you're interested in joining, you can definitely comment Kundalini or I'd like to register. And yeah, I'll share a little bit more. So on Kathumi, so Ascended Master Kathumi is the world teacher and the Lord of compassion, the Shohan of the second ray of love and wisdom. He's one of the most beloved ascended masters, and he's in the great white brotherhood and sisterhood of light that has guided humanity through so many different ages and incarnations. And how it works is that Kathumi connects to everyone, and his light is so loving and so pure, really connects to everyone. And in the attunement, I set the intention that your higher self is overseeing the attunement. And then with my higher self, we build the energy in this way that during the attunement, it is such a beautiful opening of the heart center. It's such a beautiful opening of the energy channels, of the palm chakras, of the throat, of the third eye. And what it's doing is it's supporting the energy centers and the energy channels to be able to flow more of the universal life force energy. And there is a level 2 and there is a master training, and anybody who, if you join us for level 1 and you want to continue on the Kundalini Reiki journey, I will make that accessible and make it very affordable too by offering a really big discount on that, because I feel like one of my missions is to help people receive the best of these tools. One of the things I'm kind of known for in my teachings is that I'm really thorough. I spend a lot of time like helping people connect to the energy, but I also make it very, very accessible. And I know how much it has changed my life learning both Usui Reiki and Kundalini Reiki. But the simplicity and the ease of Kundalini Reiki, I love them equally. Almost as like if you had two children, like I don't love one child more than the other. I love them both equally. But I really love the ease and simplicity of working with Kundalini Reiki because it is done by intention alone, and the healings can happen a lot faster. So instead of maybe with Usui Reiki, like the person's laying on a massage table, you're working through the different hand positions, working with different symbols, channeling the universal life force energy. With Kundalini Reiki, you can literally intend, once you've kind of learned the intentions and received the openings through the attunements, you intend, like, I want to send the Kundalini Reiki energy to this person or this group. And that's a big reason I was inspired to do this right now, because I know a lot of us are really feeling what's happening in the collective and holding a lot of prayers for everything that's happening in the Middle East right now. And that's one thing that people who've done the Kundalini Reiki training with me have shared, that having that ability to help and support. And that's something that was coming through so strongly. For example, if something's happening in the world and you want to be able to send light, and you want to be able to anchor the light of peace and anchoring the highest timeline for everyone, or if something's happening to someone personally in your life and you want to be able to help and support, or maybe it's yourself, you want to be able to receive more support yourself, working with the simplicity of the Kundalini Reiki system, working with the Shekinah, the Holy Spirit frequency coupled with the Reiki, it's so beautiful. So level 1 includes some very comprehensive teachings on Kundalini, on Reiki, on the whole history of Kundalini Reiki. It includes a really beautiful attunement ceremony that opens the heart, the palms, that helps you become a more powerful conduit of Reiki. And it includes the teachings and sort of the intention based, simple protocols, where there are many healings you can do even in level 1. So in level 1, you learn right away self healing, healing for another in person, distance healing for another in person, and what would be called like situation and circumstance healing. So if someone's wanting a healing around a specific situation or circumstance, like they're dealing with a lot of frustration or feeling the collective fear, or even the circumstance of like a natural disaster or a war or something that's going on in your local area or in another country, to be able to overflow these frequencies of light. So there's so much included in the level 1. And again, if you want to join us for free, you're welcome to type Kundalini in the chat. And let me kind of tune in for a moment of what else wants to come through. So what's coming through now is the overflow. How one common misconception around Reiki is that you might be giving of your own life force energy, and that is not the case. When working with Reiki, when working with Kundalini Reiki, the entire intention is that you receiving that Reiki light from above, receiving that Kundalini light from below, the Kundalini light from the earth, the Shakti from the earth. And then as you are filled with it, you send that energy from overflow. So I'm wanting to actually guide a quick experience of this before we close the live. And this is what I was being shown in my morning meditation. For those who work with me regularly, you know I work a lot with these tubes of light to connect to the energy. So if you're not driving, if you're in a place where you can kind of refill with the light of Kundalini, the essence of Kundalini and the essence of Reiki, just for around 5 minutes, I would love to invite you to receive. So when you're ready, again, if you're not driving and in a safe place to do so, I invite you to softly close the eyes and receive a breath. Receiving a few deep breaths, bringing your focus within. For a moment, becoming aware of that central column that column from the tailbone that runs all the way up the spine, all the way to the crown, the Sushumna. And then breathing your focus and awareness all the way back to this central column. As you breathe, bring your focus all the way down to your tailbone. And then set the intention to extend a tube of light, knowing that your higher self is doing this for you. You cannot do this wrong. Your breath does all the work. Extending a tube of light down. Extending it down through the chair, through the floor, through all layers of floor underneath you. Extending it down through the layers of rock, the layers of dirt, the layers of water in the earth. Extending it down through the second dimension of consciousness, and then extending all the way down to the core iron crystal with the heart of Mother Gaia. And your higher self is plugging this tube of light into the Kundalini energy, the energy of the Shekinah, the energy of the Holy Spirit. Set the intention that this tube of light is being plugged from your tailbone into the light of Kundalini within the earth, where she effortlessly overflows. As you inhale, breathing that Kundalini light up, breathe it up, breathe it up, breathing it into the tailbone, and breathing it all the way up into the heart. If it feels good, you can place your left palm on your heart and your right palm on top, and begin either mentally, silently, or out loud repeating Kundalini, Kundalini, Kundalini. Counting 3 more deep breaths. Allowing yourself to commune with the light of the Kundalini Shakti, the Holy Spirit. Feeling the light of the Kundalini from the earth now moving through every cell. And on your next inhale, bringing your awareness to the crown of your head and your higher self supporting you in extending a tube of light up from the crown of the head, that tube of light moving up at the speed of light, and then plugging into universal life source, the light of source. Your higher self is confirmed, you're plugged in now, and I want you to begin mentally repeating Reiki, Reiki, Reiki. As the pure universal life force energy of Reiki moves down the tube of light into the crown, into the brain, into the whole head, down the neck, down the shoulders, through the arms, out the hands. Continue repeating Reiki, Reiki, Reiki. Allowing that light of Reiki to fill your heart, increasing your life force, your chi. 2 more breaths, breathing in the Reiki light. And now breathing in both allowing that light of the Kundalini Shakti from Mother Earth up the tube of light, breathing it into your heart, and that light of Reiki moving down from source into your heart. And simply breathe here, breathing in and out. As you inhale, breathing both frequencies into the heart, and as you exhale, allowing the frequencies to move into every cell. And silently, as you breathe, repeat in your mind, Kundalini Reiki, Kundalini Reiki, Kundalini Reiki. Keep going. One more deep breath, breathing in that Kundalini from below, the Reiki from above. As you exhale, allowing the two frequencies to move through every cell. And then you can gently wiggle and shake it out. And when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes. Thank you. So, that's not really from Kundalini Reiki, but it's something my guides showed that can help you begin receiving the two frequencies. And in the Kundalini Reiki Level 1 training, I'm also going to be sharing the column clearing technique that I was shown by my Arcturian guides, who are the master healers and masters of ascension of our galaxy. So this is the only free certification that I'm offering this year. And if you'd like to join us, you can comment Kundalini in the chat. But again, it will be 2 hours on Zoom on Sunday, April 26th, starting at noon Eastern Time. There will be teachings. There will be a beautiful column clearing technique to bring a lot of clarity to the energy centers in that Sushumna, that main central column. There will be a beautiful attunement. There will be learning how to do the self-healing, healing for another, distance healing, situations and qualities healings, a lot of ways that you can begin working with the frequencies right away. And we really work with the energy. Kuthumi does, my higher self does, and your higher self does, where you will receive the amount of Kundalini energy that is most beneficial to you. It is a very safe and gentle technique. It's a really safe and gentle way of working with the Kundalini energy. So I want to thank you for this kind of rare special occasion. This once in a blue moon opportunity where I have some time and space to share about Kundalini energy and share about Reiki energy and share about the Kundalini Reiki training. And yeah, thank you so much for your presence in this live today. And I'm really, really looking forward to the 26th. We have such a beautiful group that's joining us, and to be able to offer kind of the depth that comes forward in a way that makes it so accessible for people. It's really one of my biggest passions in life, is for us all to be equipped as intuitive healers to really activate our innate healing abilities, and to have all of the tools so that we feel in our power when something is coming up for us, when we want to support a loved one, when we want to maybe step into more professional healing, or when we want to be able to support a certain situation in the world or support the collective. So thank you so much. And yeah, this replay will be live on the page for probably about a month. And I'm wishing you all a beautiful rest of your Tuesday. And if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments, and I'm happy to answer. And I had any here sharing any, and Ifath sharing the link for to register, because you do have to register if you want to join the free Kundalini Reiki level 1. But those who are live experiencing on the replay, I'll have them, and I'll be checking the comments in the replay as well. So thank you so much, and I look forward to connecting again soon. Many blessings.